afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you with us on today. Excited about this presentation as well as the other ones that we've done. You joined in with us for the 2020 Road to Recovery, helping to ease your drive to small business recovery, and we're glad that you can be able to share with us. My name is Tamora Hughes, and I am with the Illinois Small Business Development Center at Greater Englewood. But as a collaborative effort, today we have collaborated and are working together with the Bronzeville, Illinois Small Business Development Center and ourselves to partner and provide you some useful information, free training to help you stabilize your business and as well as to grow your business in this climate. And as we know, our climate is getting deeper and deeper and cloudier and cloudier. So we definitely want to be able to provide the service, these workshops for sustainability. And so looking at all aspects of your business, sharing this information to you, and also letting you know that there are free one-on-one coaching and advising services. So in your chat, there'll probably be a link there for you to click on to get more information about our workshops that are coming up, but also how to reach out to us so that you can be able to get some help and talk to one of our business advisors at either center. You'll see on your screen right now that we have some more upcoming workshops and trainings, presentations. Today you're with us to do the business proposal and grant writing, but we have a couple of sessions on June 10th, as well as the 17th and the 24th. So if you're interested in any of those, we ask that you go ahead and register to hold your space. You'll see the link there so that you can be able to hold your spot. All of this information and everything that we're sharing is being funded by a corporate agreement with the United States, the U.S. SBA, as also the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the SBDC, Urban Juncture Foundation, and Greater Englewood CDC. So there's a group of us that have come together to make sure that our small businesses are up and running and ready to go. So I'm going to jump right into my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. So hold on one second so I can share the screen so that you'll be able to see my presentation. And I'm going to come out of here and share my screen. Alrighty. So we're going to jump right into my presentation, which is the proposal. So you should be able to see the presentation that's on my screen. Again, my name is Tamora Hughes. So I will be presenting today proposal and grant writing 101. So we'll get started, and we will stop periodically throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions, we ask that you put them in your chat, in the chat box, and we'll stop during our presentation in certain sections to find out if there's questions that we can answer for you as we're going through. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to actually review this at a later date once the recording has been completed. Whoever has registered will be able to send that out to you. So let's get started with our presentation. The first thing is to really ask yourself if you understand and know what a proposal is. And so since we are presenting to small businesses, many times people see proposal and think it's just for nonprofits, and it's not. Proposal is basically the formal request that you're going to make on behalf of your company, your organization, or yourself. So it's just a written document that's formalized that really gives the steps or information that a person would need to know about you. Normally you'll see something called an RFP, or they also say a notice of funding, NOF. So you'll see a variety of language, but on average, you'll see the RFP, which means request for proposal. And this is the opportunity then that proposals are submitted with the details of what you need to pull together. And some organizations or foundations or whoever's pushing it out may ask for an application form to be completed, as well as any kind of written documentation, which they call a full proposal. So there are some requirements usually when you're doing a proposal, and you must follow those requirements and make sure that you give them everything they want. There are different types of proposals that people look for. So the top 5 are grant proposals. And normally you'll see this, most nonprofits go after kind of grant proposals where they can identify dollars to help them with their nonprofit. But there's also business proposals, technical proposals, project proposals, and sale proposals. So based upon what your project is and what you're doing, there are various ways in different proposals. Today, we're going to kind of really focus on business proposals and maybe project proposals that we'll focus on. But most proposals have a basic foundation of information that you have to pull together. So they have a basic outline, which is what I'm going to share with you today. And once you get that basic outline, then you can kind of work with whatever the RFP is and begin to merge that information from your basic foundation. Many of the foundations or corporations and even the government agencies despair at the poor quality of proposals they receive. I have been writing grant proposals over 24, 25 plus years on the for-profit and nonprofit side. And over those years, I've also been a grant reviewer, or what they call a peer reviewer on the federal side, where I have reviewed grants, proposals for different individuals in different parts of the country. And as a peer reviewer, one of the key or the challenges is that the proposal is not written in good quality. And because of that, many people miss out on the opportunity to get funding because they're scored. And of course, your goal is always to get 100%. And in that RFP, they're going to tell you how much each part of your proposal is going to get a certain amount of scoring. So it's always key that you make sure that when you're writing, you're trying to get the highest score because competition is really high. And so you want to be at the top in order to at least be considered to get these proposal opportunities. So I encourage you that as you're writing your proposals to make sure that you're submitting it with the best quality. If you're not the best writer, I would encourage you to bring on a proposal team and have some reviewers and have some other people to help in pulling this together, and spell checker and all of that, making sure you have all of that because it's going to be key. Proposals that fail to communicate effectively jeopardize the support that they might need or to be granted, and won't be considered then an excellent project. So you got to make sure that you're clear when you're writing your proposal. Make sure that when person is reading it, most people will not know who you are, so you can't make the assumption that they know you. They're not going to go, not necessarily go to your website and look up information, which means that you have to communicate this information and you need to communicate the project. So sometimes we give too much history and we never get into the project. So you want to make sure that you communicate effectively. The best place to begin with some of the fundamental observations about your proposal, that's what it does. So basically, it gives an overview of who you are, what you do, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, and all of that. So we're going to talk, I'm going to show you a few things on how to develop that. Some of the fundamentals: research, not writing, is your first step. So many people just want to jump in and start writing. You really should research. And what are you researching? Well, you're researching the project itself, you're researching the field, you're researching the community. If you're supporting a community, you're researching and getting as much data as possible, because you're going to need it when you actually write the proposal. You have to convince the reviewer that you know your topic, your subject, whatever you're talking about, that you know it front and back, and that as you're communicating that, you're letting them know, I've researched this, I've researched the community, I've researched the project, I've researched the need, I've done this. And you'll have to show where that research came from, best practices, things like that. So research is first. Once you do the research, then the proposal writing will require a good writer. And so I kind of said that already, that you really need to have somebody. So if you're not the best writer, then you need to find people that can help you get this written, help you to review it, because you don't want to turn anything in with typos, mistakes, lack of communication, that kind of thing. And then also following directions. So whatever they're telling you to do, so if they're saying Times New Roman 12 point, that's what you should have. Inch margin on the document, that's what you should have. So if you turn in 11 point, 11 point Helvetica or something like that, that goes way off of what they asked for, and easily that could go into the maybe pal. And I call them maybe pal. So there's a yes pal, there's a maybe pal, and there's a no pal when I review. So the first thing I do is look to see if you follow directions. If you haven't, I put it in the maybe pal. And if you have not done anything, you don't include your budget or anything like that, that goes in the no pile. So that's how reviewers really look at if they're going to spend quality time reading your information, because they figure if you didn't follow the directions, how well are you going to do with actually executing the project? So those are just things you need to think about. Some of the tips to doing your proposal writing or grant writing is that the project visionary should be the author, assisted by a grant coordinator and a budget manager. So at least have 3 people. You might be all of them, which is fine. It's just that you need to fulfill each position then. The visionary is usually the person that sees this. They see how it's going to go. They see how it's going to work. They're usually the author of it. And they're then going to either write it themselves, or they're going to communicate it to their grant coordinator or somebody that's going to be able to write this for them and write it out in clarity. But then that coordinator is also the person that probably will be on your team to help with the project management of it, to make sure that you're doing everything that you said. And then your budget manager, just somebody that when you get the money in, that they're making sure they're putting it in the right space, that they're keeping all the reports and the data, so that when it's time to do a report or something like that, then you have somebody that's managing that. Again, this might be a position for just one person, but you need to understand that these positions are important. Don't work right in the first person. So definitely avoid saying, I would like this, I would do this, or me this. So you should be indicating your company and what you're doing, and that we, the board, whatever the case may be, but avoid writing in first person. Also select a appropriate and interesting title for your proposal. You know, nothing that's too out of too crazy, but you want to make sure that you're giving something that's interesting, so that then when the reviewer looks at it, they'll go, oh, that's nice. So they kind of keeps it in their memory as they're looking at the other 50 proposals that they got to read. So you want to stand out if you can. So you don't want to go beyond whatever they've requested though. So if they said Times New Roman 12, you know, 1-inch margin. So if they indicate no pictures and all that, then you don't put that in there. So you keep it fresh, you keep it clean, and make sure you do what they ask for. No more than 10 pages. And you might have to go, if it's a federal proposal, you may go way beyond 10 pages, but that's okay. They'll let you know how many. But usually on average, if it's a small contract proposal or business proposal, usually they don't want a lot of pages. So that's why you got to get straight to the point. So no more than 10 pages is what you should start out with. Prepare a table of contents if it's beyond the 10 pages, so that then they can see and make sure that everything is cited. And just try to keep your paragraphs short. So you don't want to kind of give the whole history of where you came from and your mother and your cousins and all. You want to kind of stay in sync with the purpose and the project and what you're going to do. You don't want to do too much overkill when you're writing. So don't, again, you just want to be brief. You want to be short. You want to be simple. You want to avoid any jargons and abbreviations and things like that. Again, people might be reviewing this and not know who you are. So particularly like for our organization, we normally say GECDC, but if you don't know what that is, then we have to introduce that. So we have to indicate Greater Englewood Community Development Corporation, and then in parentheses put GECDC, so that later on as the reader is reviewing it, they'll know, oh yeah, I know what that is. That's the short version or abbreviation of what their organization is. So you want to kind of keep that practice. Be certain that your budget is reflective. So if you are working on a project for your business, and say for instance, it's allowing you to purchase some tablets or something like that for your business, you want to make sure that whatever you're indicating in your proposal and explaining why you need that it's reflective in your budget. So you don't want to put a car or a Lamborghini or anything, and I'm exaggerating, but you don't want to put that in your budget and it's not reflective of what your narrative is. So you want to make sure everything matches. You want to make sure everything is clear, again, because other people are reading this that might not even know who you are. You should be logical. So it shouldn't be out of the world just thinking, oh, wow, I can get $20 million. Let me just write a shopping list of stuff. It should be logical. It should make sense. And it should be able to show and prove that what you're going to do is going to make a difference, that there's a change that's going to happen, and you'll have proof in that when you're actually sending your reporting. So again, you want to follow the guidelines exactly to whatever they've said. So whatever those guidelines are, many times, most things are now online on the funders site. So you'll be able to find that, particularly like some of the guidelines that went out last week, couple weeks ago, with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity through Governor Pritzker, and pushing out the fast track, as well as pushing out the shovel-ready grant opportunities that are out there. All those are on their website, so you can follow those guidelines. They give you the links to everything that you need. So you need to spend the time to read the guidelines, read everything they have before you really start writing, just to make sure that you have an outline of what needs to be in your narrative. I just put some samples up, just kind of like you can go, I know like Walmart has it. There's several other organizations that have it. On the for-profit side, you can look at state of Illinois. So if you're going through contract bids, bid buy is an opportunity to be on their database list, so that then when all of these contracts go out for businesses, and you have to submit a proposal, then you can actually go utilize that opportunity and see what's out there. And if it's something that aligns with what you do, then you'll have to submit a proposal for that. You want to be compelling, but again, don't oversell it. Again, don't, you know, the jargon, you want to make sure that you clarify what that is, to explain any acronyms or anything that you're going to use. Do not insert unnecessary verbiage. So if it has nothing to do with the proposal, leave it out. You only putting in what is relative. And again, don't be wordy, because the reviewers, they have a lot to read. So they want you to get straight to the point and they want to be able to find it. So that's why the table of contents is important. Also putting subheads in your proposal so that then they can go and look and say where the statement of need is. They can go and look and see where the project or program narrative is. They can actually go to those pages and actually see that and not have to search around trying to find things. So you want to help them so that they can find your information and you can be clear about it. So these are some of the proposal elements. So normally this is just a standard. There could be different ones based upon the RFP. But most of the time you'll see executive summary, you'll see the statement of need, you'll see organizational information, and then in the project description, it'll require maybe goals, objectives, an evaluation, timeline, and budget. So these are just standard things that you would normally see when you're putting together a proposal. But again, some RFPs may require additional information, so you'll include those wherever those are supposed to go. So today, we're just kind of talking about the basics, the one-on-one, just to help you maybe start a template. And I always encourage my clients that you start working on this now, start building a template around what your business is and what you do and how you do things, so that then as information changes, then you can have something that you're already working with. Because many times some of these deadlines, they only give you 30 to 45 days. So you want to make sure that you can start working on some basic stuff now, so that then when those opportunities come out, you can use your template and then edit as you need and not miss that deadline. So with the executive summary, here's some of the information. Really understanding what an executive summary is basically what a person will read at the beginning of your proposal, just showing the elements. And some of those would be like your statement of need. Why are you doing this? What are you proposing? What kind of money you'll need to get this done? And then you'll put some organization history, maybe bios, stuff like that, real brief information, so that then they will understand why are you doing this? Why do you need this? And then the backup to that is really the proposed project and how your project's going to solve a problem. You know, and most proposals, that's what they're looking for, is that whatever you have is going to solve a problem. So this is the kind of standard key points. With the executive summary, you kind of want to keep it to 1 page, but if it allows you to do like 3 pages or something like that, that's fine. You just need to stick to the guidelines. And then also, many people say, write this last. I actually write it first, because it helps me. It's almost like a table of content. It helps me to think through what I'm going to have to put in there. But it's up to you how you want to write it. Usually, if I write it first and I start working on the proposal, then I'll go back to the executive summary just to make sure I didn't miss anything, or I've added new stuff that I didn't have before. So it's kind of optional. It's up to you how you want to write your executive summary. Then you have your statement of need. This is basically a brief statement of why this is relevant, the project that you're talking about, the program that you're talking about, the business that you're talking about, whatever the case is. Why is it relevant? And also where the current data is, where are you getting this information from? So these are just a few websites. There are many others out there. In all my presentations, I seem to promote Google. So just Google it. But you can use the United States Census Bureau to try to grasp some statistics about maybe the community that your business is in and how you're supporting the community. Also the Bureau label statistics. This is kind of like to really find out the number of people that might be within industry as far as workers, things like that. So you can pull up some information through there. And then community data, there's a lot of them out there. So I just pulled this one, but it's kind of like, it tells you, if it's a impoverished community, how many, what the housing is, the number of ethnicities are in the community. So sometimes you can pull information like that. They're really designed for like real estate and really understanding, like if I was going to buy a home, what that community looks like, what score do they get, is it a good community or not so good. So, but it is good information, and there's many organizations out there that have that community data, but you want to make sure it is good information. So you don't never want to just use something because you've Googled it, and you got to kind of checkpoint and make sure that it is good information and valuable information. You want to avoid any kind of secular reasoning, like we need scholarship money because we don't have scholarship money. Avoid that totally. You need to be able to say scholarship money is needed because students are lower socioeconomic levels, first generation students, non-traditional, etc. So you want to explain why and who the scholarship money you're trying to get to help, so kind of don't make just general statements. You want to make sure that you give some clarity in your reasoning. Organization information, if they need it, if it's not required, I always suggest that you put a little bit about who you are, but not a lot, but just a brief, really to show your expertise, to let people know that I have people in my business that can get the job done, that kind of thing. So you want to be able to have a little bit if they don't request it. If they do, they'll tell you what they're looking for. So you want to make sure you place it in the right places based upon the guidelines. And then also make sure your websites are updated. So as a business, you should have an updated website with at least some basic information, because many times they'll go to the website just to back up what you just wrote in your proposal. So if you're writing something in the proposal and then your website is something totally different, then you need to check that, because they're going to question that with, okay, they're saying they do this, but their website says this. So you need to make sure that you just have basic information on your website, just in case they go and look at your website. Project description. So this is where we get into the meat of our projects, of our business proposals. That we're looking at the guidelines, whatever they told us. Again, remember the reviewer. So you want to guide them through. So where it's, good to put a bullet point, not a whole bunch, but make sure you're just doing this to guide them through so they can find what they need to find. Any kind of section headings, boldface when you need to. So don't boldface the whole proposal. You just want to kind of boldface, especially if there are keywords or phrases that you want to stand out. And then in this project description will include your goals, your objectives, your methods, your evaluation, and your timeline. Now, before I move on, do I have any questions? Has anybody put in the chat room, or can I keep going?
Not yet. You can keep going. Thanks, Tamara.
Okay. So let's look at our goals. So, goals are just basically general statements. These are kind of like mileposts, just basically saying, this is how we're going to meet our vision. This is based upon our vision and our mission. And this is how we're setting our movement. So a vision statement, it just gives me the mental picture of what you're talking about. And I use this organization, this company, as a sample, but you know, it just gives you a good idea. So I got the Oregon Farmers Markets Association. And so their vision statement says that we're a vibrant statewide network of farmers markets connecting Oregon's farmers and consumers. So real basic, it gives me a vision now, a mental picture that this is a statewide network. And who are the state networks? They're farmers. They're farmers markets. And where are they? They're in Oregon. And who are they connecting? They're connecting to the farmers and they're connecting to the consumers. That's the vision, okay? But then here's the mission. So the vision and mission should go together. So your mission, though, is a statement that's general to help now me to see how I'm going to activate my vision. So now this is their mission: to support local agricultural and healthy communities by strengthening and promoting Oregon farmers. So we saw what their vision was, and now we see the action items of how they're going to do that. The whole purpose of their company is to support local agricultural and healthy communities. And what they're going to do, whatever activities they're going to do, is going to strengthen and promote who is not the Chicago farmers, it's the Oregon farmers markets. So this is where you get a little detail. It helps to see what their mission is. This is their mission. So then the vision and mission, then the description is that the vision is what will be achieved and the mission is how it will be achieved. So you need to have both of those, the vision and the mission. So then once you have those, then you can start setting goals based upon what you stated in your vision and your mission. So your goals are then general statements of what you're going to achieve. These will change over time as you grow in your business. You'll have different goals. So as you meet goals, you'll check that goal off, know you've achieved it, and then you'll start adding goals. So this is kind of going to be a live document over periods of time. So your goals should be integrated then with the vision, but also integrated with the mission of whatever you're going to do. So again, with our Oregon farmers markets, these are their goals. They're going to strengthen our alliances, collaborations, and strategic positions as Oregon farmers market advocate. So now they're showing that holding a position to be an advocate, okay? Then the next goal is to build a strong organizational foundation. That's another goal. Provide educational and networking opportunities for member markets. Another goal. Promote farmers markets. So these are their goals. This is what they plan on doing. And as they're going after funding for their business, this is what they're going to target, their goals. So it helps them to kind of see what they're going to do, but also it's going to help whoever's reading this to know I'm very clear on what they're going to do now. So a goal should meet the following criteria. So it should be suitable, meaning does it fit with that vision and mission we talked about? Is it acceptable? Does it fit with the values of your company and the employees of your company? Is it understandable? Is it stated simply and easy to understand? And is it flexible? Can it be adapted and changed as needed? So when you're looking at goals, you need to make sure that it's suitable, acceptable, understandable, as well as, flexible. Then once you have your goals, then you move to your objectives. And goals are not objectives, okay? Goals are usually general. They can't be measured. So those goals we saw, there was no measurement in it. They were just statements, okay? So a lot of times people say goals and objectives and they merge them together, which is not necessarily the best thing to do, because your goals need to stand out, and then your objectives, because your objectives are measurable so that you can measure your outcomes. They're tangible, specific, and achievable. So then the rest of your proposal and anything that you're writing now is really related to the objectives. And those objectives then should be formative or summative, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then you only need 1 or 2 good objectives for a proposal. But if you want to have 50, that means you got to do 50 different things. And that's a lot of work. So you want to make sure that you're getting straight to the point. You want to have some good objectives that are measurable so that you can then do that reporting that's going to be required. You want to make sure all of that is concise. So you don't want to have a whole bunch of them, because even a reviewer will look at that and you only got a team of 3 people and then they see 50 different objectives. They're going to kind of speculate and say, how are they going to get all that done? So you really want to be concise. You want to be clear. And you want to be able to show that your objectives are going to make an impact. And that's the key. So objectives are not goals. Goals are general, but your objectives are measurable. So objectives are specific, quantifiable, time-sensitive statements of what you're going to be able to achieve and when it will be achieved. They are milestones that guide you along your path in achieving then the goals that were general statements, okay? So I'm gonna use my friends here with the Oregon Farmers Market Advocate. So their first goal was to strengthen our alliances, collaborations, and strategic position as Oregon Farmers Market Advocate, okay? So now they're objectives. So that's the goal. So how are you going to do that, Oregon Farmers Market Advocate? We're going to develop 2 measurable, now we're measuring 2 new relationships each month. So each month, 12 for the 12 months. So now we see how many what's going on with local markets or organic commercial realtors. So now we're seeing that this is measurable. And the reason you want to have this is because you need to be able to know that you're meeting your goals. So in this particular case, they're going to build 2 new relationships each month. Okay, so as they're doing that, on the back end of this, when they start doing their reporting, there has to be some documentation to show that they got 2 new relationships each month. Okay, so that's how they're going to strengthen their alliances because of this one objective. Here's another one. Their goal was to build a strong organizational foundation. So here's the measurement: to conduct 2 professional development retreats annually for management and staff. So this is internal. So they're going to do 2 retreats just to do professional development. So they're going to have a calendar that's going to show that they did these retreats. They're going to have people do sign-in sheets. They're going to have people to do assessments and all that becomes data that they will be able to use in their reporting to say, we got this done and got it accomplished. Another goal, provide educational networking opportunities for member markets. So they're going to host 4 workshops. So again, it's measurable. You'll be able to see it. And it's also open to the public, which means they're probably going to have sign-ins. They're going to have registrations. They're going to have surveys. There's going to be data that's going to be collected, and that information will be able to be put into then their reporting at the end based upon whatever the funder is giving, telling them to send in for reports. Then promote farmers markets. So they're going to create an online directory listing 500 local markets. So they're going to create an online directory so that when I go to their website and go to the directory, I have 500 local market people there. And then they're going to highlight each month in their newsletter or whatever, each month they're going to highlight a market just to promote the market, promote the business, really show people what they're doing. So that's how they're promoting farmers markets, okay? So any questions with that? Because I know I kind of sped through it. Is everybody clear on how to write a goal and how to write their objectives. Okay, great. You're good. You're good class. Good team. Okay, so then the next thing is methods. So there are specific activities tied to each objective. So in order to reach those objectives, how are you going to do that? And I kind of mentioned some of that, you know, they may do surveys, they may do sign-in sheets, they may do evaluations. There might be a variety of things that they're going to do. And when they're doing that, these methods then describe the activities that are going to happen. So some of the questions you might say is, how will these activities meet our objectives? So you're going to ask yourself questions so that you make sure you develop methods that are going to be able to show that you've gotten these objectives done. So why have you chosen these objectives? Do they reflect the importance of your objectives? So these are questions that you ask yourself as you're developing your objectives to make sure that you have a method to actually calculate or pull the data that you need to prove that you got the job done. Okay, so this is a sample of a method. So the goal, remember our goal was promote farmers markets. That's our goal. The objective then is have 500 members, and we put a date on it now, by August 1st. So now we know we got a goal. It's, you know, I'll say it's January. You're starting to beginning of the year. You know you got this project that needs to be done for your business. You need to be able to get a large database of people so that people can start utilizing your service as a business. And so one of your objectives then is to be able to do promotion. So your goals then and your objective is to get as many people in a database by a certain date so that you can continue your marketing for your business. So the action plan in this particular case is that the membership committee, so that's being assigned to somebody to conduct 10 membership meetings, okay? Meaning that there's some activity going on 10 times out the year or up to August 1 at specific locations. So they're going to be all over, and then on following dates in June and July. So that might be promotion for you as a business, that you're planning an action plan of how you're going to get 500 customers. So you need 500 customers. You need to figure out what that is and develop that action plan. It might just be you. So you might not have a committee. It might be just you doing that and building that momentum so that you start collecting names. So it might be that you start doing webinars and Zoom meetings and promotions and all this kind of stuff, and teaching and training people different things, or showing or exhibiting your project or your program or whatever the case may be for your business, and that you're getting in the face of people so that people know who you are. So that's an action plan. These are the methods that you would take on. Once you have these methods, then you'll want to look at evaluation, because anybody that's giving you money, they're going to want to know, how did you do it? What did you do? So you'll have to describe, even before you get the money, on how you're going to evaluate. So you will have to do evaluation internally as well as externally, or one or the other. You'll have to be able to show, how did you evaluate your success, or how did you evaluate if you didn't meet the mark. So some funders are definitely now recognizing and recommending that that evaluation be written out. So you have to show them how you're going to evaluate your proposal, your project, okay? And so commonly evaluations, they either measure your product or they analyze the process, okay? So based upon whatever you're selling, whatever product you're selling, whatever consulting program or services that you're doing, whatever the case may be, you have to be able to show some kind of evaluation to show how you're measuring your success. Then it also has to tie into the activity. So all the stuff that we talked about goals and objectives, they should link, they should tie in, and those can be some formative or summative. So here's what formative and summative mean. And I love this graphic. I grabbed it off of Google one day, and it just really makes sense. With a formative evaluation, it's when the chef tastes the soup. So it's formative is internal. It's when I'm saying, the soup is really good. Wow, this is really good soup. And it's just me and maybe my staff that's doing a formative evaluation about my soup. Okay. But a summative evaluation is when the guest tastes the soup. So this is when I'm asking other people how the soup tastes. So many times you'll see businesses after you've dined with them, or you'll see businesses after you provide them a service, and they'll send you a survey and they ask you, could you fill out this survey? That's a summative because they want to know what you thought. I think my soup is good, but do you think my soup is good? So this is where you write the steps on how you're going to evaluate, even in your proposal. So even before you get the money, you need to be able to tell funders how you're going to measure success and how you're going to measure your activity. Okay. Once you do your evaluation, all of this goes in your proposal too. So it's where you're going to be very brief and specific, but it's going to be detailed enough that as a reviewer, when I'm reading it, I know you've done your homework. So then there's the timeline. So now I need to see, and you'll see this, if you've looked at the shovel-ready proposal, the other one that's out there is the R3 proposal through the, I think, Department of Justice, the EDA on the federal level. These are all grants that are available to businesses. So you want to check into them. All of them are asking, well, when are you going to get this done? And how long is it going to take? So you'll need to be able to take your project, your programs, your business, and put appropriate sections in your proposal to be able to show when you're going to get these things done. So these will be your major goals over a period of time, and then also the goals to show the entire program. So it could look like a table. It doesn't have to. I've seen people put it in bullet points and things like that based upon how much room you have in your proposal. If they allow any kind of graphic like this, you could put it in. Again, you want to help the reviewer. So if it helps that I could just see it right on one page, I know all my activities, what I'm going to do, and then I know each year, because this is a 4-year thing, I know what each year is going to happen, or if it's quarterly, if it's monthly. You know, this is just a sample, but it gives me a timeline so that then when the reviewer reads it, they can say, oh, okay, I see they're going to hire the first year. They're going to do January and a little bit before March, they're going to hire, but they're not going to jump into training until April, June. Okay. So, you know, these are opportunity, and like this timeline is off. It really should say first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, not year. So then that gives a good idea of what's going to happen all the way to December. So these timelines really help. And if, you know, in your proposal, you want to be able to tell them how and what's going to happen throughout the proposal. Then this is the biggest one. This is the budget, developing the budget. So this is key when you're doing your budget, that it must connect to your business. So you want to make sure that whatever you're talking about is relative. So any kind of elements in your budget, the basic ones are the personnel, the travel, material, supplies, equipment, and then your facility administrative costs, or what they call indirect costs. So information on the proposal, the personnel, that's usually your full-time and your part-time salaries. The percentage of time, are they 100%? Are they 50%? So you're going to put that information in your budget. Most of your proposals are going to give you a spreadsheet or worksheet. If not, you can do it in Excel so that then you can put in the information and calculate it. Fringe benefits for those that are full-time, you know, and calculating fringe benefits and FICA tax rates and all of that. So if you don't know something, call your tax consultant. In doubt, call your tax consultant. Okay. Equipment. So usually you'll see a category that says equipment, but equipment is usually a unit value of 5,000 or more, and it has a lifespan of 2 or more years. So based upon your equipment, there might be, you know, sometimes we put computers and stuff in there, but that's really a supply. It's not equipment. So you'll see that most of the time in your proposals. Other direct costs, that could be consultant services, professional services, and that. So anything in the service field, any consultants you're utilizing, you will put that information if it's allowable. Printing, copying, material, supplies, stuff you're buying, pens, paper, whatever, specific supplies, but it should be for the project. So you're not just buying bulk for your whole, you know, your whole office. You need to calculate how much supplies you're going to need for this project and outline that, because you'll have to state that. And then computer software, sometimes that's not allowed, but some RFPs may allow that. So you have to read the guidelines to make sure. Then budget justification and narrative. So whatever you put in those boxes and the cost, now you have to go back and give some kind of description on how you came up with that number. So if you're saying something costs $5,000, then in the narrative, you have to actually show the dollar amount times this. That's how I got my 5,000. Okay, so, you know, you have to have a narrative, and it should be addressed for each line item that you have in your budget. You should be able to give a description of that. Then there's cost sharing. So some business proposal will ask for cost sharing or match costs, and that's basically how much you giving or where else is the other money coming from. So if they're asking for a certain dollar amount, and a lot of times this, you'll see this in government funding, that they'll ask, is this in kind? Meaning that maybe a person's gonna volunteer their services, so they're going to give their time in kind, where you're not literally paying them, but their in kind could be their salary and their fringe or something like that can be shown as an in kind, whereas normally you would have paid them $10,000, they're going to in kind it. And so now that 10 can go into the in kind, but that could be a dollar amount for match if they're requiring a match, okay, of cost. So you'll see that when you see the guidelines, if they require that. Some things are not a match. I always suggest to make your proposal attractive, that you do put something in. It might not be a lot, but they want to see if you got, you know, you're supporting whatever you're talking about, and that could be cash or anything else that you've raised. You want to be able to show that, yeah, I'm asking you for money, but I'm also investing some money too, to make sure this gets done. And that's very attractive when you're able to show that. Indirect costs, these are also known as facility and administrative. So this is kind of like where they're going to give you a certain dollar amount for indirect, for administrative and facilities, so that you can use that dollar amount maybe to clean up your facility, maybe hire an administrative person to kind of do your grant management and all of that. So usually this is above and beyond whatever the grant request is. So you can request that in order to do some things administratively. But indirect costs, many times you can get a F&A rate, a negotiated rate with these agencies. So you can write these agencies and they'll write you a letter, and the indirect cost, once they'll put how much it is. So it might be 20%, 18%, whatever the percentage is, then that's the percentage of how much you can add to your budget line item, whatever the total is, times that, 20%, because United States Department of Education gave you a letter, and you would include that letter, actually a copy of that letter in your proposal, so it proves that you actually have an F&A rate. If you don't have a letter, sorry, if you don't have a letter, the proposal will actually, the RFP will actually tell you if you can do indirect costs, and if you can, usually it's defaulted at 10%. So you can only get 10% of F&A if that is the case. So as you could tell, I advanced quickly, but I'm at the end of my presentation. So it's time to write, y'all. It's time to get those applications in. You have the basic information. So let you know, it's time to do it. So I'm gonna take any questions, any comments, anything that you have. We got the line open. Let me know. Okay, and you can put it in your chat. Any questions? Wow, no question. Wonderful. That means I did a good job, right? Okay. So definitely, again, I'd like to share. Let me, excuse me, I'm going to stop this screen right quick because I want to go back to our beginning in this proposal. I want to actually go back to the first thing that we did because I want to be able to share what we have. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second. So that you can see what's coming up. So hopefully everybody can see this. This is what's coming up. So for those that didn't catch our introduction, this is our 2020 Road to Recovery series, just helping our small businesses to recover through all of this COVID, all of this other stuff that's going on now, helping you get through this whole climate, and helping you to stabilize your business. So today we had the business proposal and grant writing, but on the 10th, there are 2 sessions that are coming up. So definitely, if you need an intro to financial planning, we're going to do that for entrepreneurs, really talking about that, as well as trying to identify funding to fund your business. And then on the 17th, just things related to legal. And then on the 24th, I don't know about you, but we all need to have a powerful mindset, and we need to know how to do this business and to be able to stabilize our business, but also to think in a very creative way, so that if traditionally our business was working one way, we might have to pivot, change things around, change our mindset about what we got, be more creative. So on the 24th, we will be sharing that information. So you see the link to register. So we ask that you actually pre-register. Again, this was being offered by the SBA and also the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity with the SBDC, and in collaboration, Urban Juncture Foundation and the Greater Englewood CDC. So are there any questions as I went through this? We put some information in the chat. Make sure you join in with our other free workshops. These are no cost trainings. So these are free workshops. So please grab as much as you can. Also, you can connect with Urban Juncture and in our organization. So we're both SBDCs. So you can connect with us. If you want to do one-on-one advising, you got some more questions, you just want to get coached through some things, you can always reach out to us and we'll contact you to help you through whatever you need to navigate. Okay? Great. No questions. All right, so we're done. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tamara. Fantastic job.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining. And we look forward to seeing you again at the other sessions. Have a great afternoon.